You're listening to Zen and the Art of Endurance, your podcast for getting great at going long.
Well, hey there, all you tri-freaks and geeks, and welcome to another great episode of Zen and the Art of Endurance, the podcast where we go long and find out a lot about ourselves along the way. Well, gang, I have a really cool episode for you. I have figured out how to record video while on the bike. So for the past few weeks, I've been taking a GoPro out there with me and doing what I used to do in classic Zen and the Art of Triathlon episodes that made the show so popular, was record while I ride and talk about a mix of what's going on in endurance sports, throw in some Zen lessons along the way, and then also at the same time capture everything that's going on around me. And of course, the original shows like that used to be all audio, and you could use your imagination to picture it in your mind of what was happening. And then over the years, I kind of got away from it because as I got more performance oriented and was getting faster and faster at Ironmans and trying to break records and qualify for Kona, I found it actually really difficult to record while on the bike and train in the right zones and also not destroy my equipment, because back then, stuff wasn't just not waterproof, it wasn't even sweat-proof. But leap forward to today, and I can wear a waterproof camera while recording my rides. It happens to record audio really well and in stereo. And I did it at first to bring some extra eyeballs to the podcast, but it turns out it is so much fun that I just did weekend after weekend after weekend of taking it out with me on long rides. And then I realized I could use the audio from it for the podcast. And now I'm actually creating two products at the same time, which not only doubles the exposure and visibility and findability of Zen and the Art of Endurance, but it's also so cool that if you're listening to the podcast because you're at work or you're driving and you can't see the video, and you just want to listen to audio, maybe you're running or biking or something, and you want to listen to it, and there's a part of it where you're like, man, I wonder what that looked like. You can actually hop over to the YouTube channel and see the video from it as well. Or if you just want to watch the video, then you can do that. And I got to tell you, the videos are really cool because I've overlaid on top of it all the Garmin metrics, including power. So how many watts I'm putting out as I'm going uphill, and heart rate and cadence and all that other good stuff and speed. And another important thing to note is one reason that I slowed down on putting out podcasts is editing audio is not fun. You've already listened to yourself once when you made it, and then you got to listen to yourself again. And honestly, I'd rather be listening to a podcast about something else, just like you would about something like Zen and the Art of Endurance. I would like to be listening to something that I haven't already heard. But editing video is a lot of fun. You're reliving the whole experience. And there's this other weird thing that when you record video, it's a lot more, it's forgiving, but also it's compressed because you're trying to get as much information as you can. Maybe it's because, the video recorders have like much less battery life. So you're trying to, say what's important. And I'm actually really good at narrating a long video because I just describe what's going on around me as well to fill in the dead space with information. So it carries over to audio really well. It's fun to edit. And then by the time I post a video, all I have to do is convert the video to audio, which is a quick trick. And then I do no editing on the audio after that because I've already done it through the video. So that's what I have for you today. I have one of several audio shows made from video of me riding my bike out in the countryside, all kinds of crazy stuff happening. And I think what we'll do is we'll start off with how slow is fast and Wu Wei. So Wu Wei is Wuwei, and it comes from Taoism. And it's a realization that you can't really rush things. And it has a really nice tie-in with endurance sports. And if you start to pay attention and watch and observe life as it goes on around you, you'll notice that everything has its own speed. And if you try to rush things, you make it worse. And a lot of times, if you leave things alone, they fulfill themselves at their own speed anyway. It's a really cool concept. And it goes hand in hand with the phrase that we're all very familiar with, that slow is smooth and smooth is fast, which one person that I believe said that is Mario Andretti, the race car driver, is one of the best in the world. And basically when you're racing around a track, that if you keep things smooth, then actually you go faster. And the way you keep things smooth is actually to slow down just enough so that you have things under control and let yourself flow around the racetrack. So I don't want to go to it too much here because I go into it plenty during the audio from the video. But before we do that, let's do just a little bit of endurance sports news. Christian Blumenfeld, arguably the world's best triathlete, mentioned that he was going to try to qualify and win the Tour de France. And then just the other day, he backed out of that. He was like, oh, maybe not. That was kind of amusing to see somebody say that they were going to win the Tour de France, although it's possible that he could, but it's also something very odd to like throw out there that you were going to do. And let's see, Lael Wilcox did complete something awesome. She finished her bike ride around the world, started in Chicago, went east, and then crossed the Atlantic, and then by plane, I'm sure, but then picked up again in Europe and went all the way to Turkey, and then picked up again in Australia, did all the way across Australia, New Zealand, and then back up in Alaska, and then down through the Western United States. And it's all Guinness World Record approved, the route that she used, and ended up back in Chicago again. She just completed it. Such a huge inspiration. And she had a daily podcast, about 5 to 15 minutes each day almost, reviewing the day. And it's a really cool listen. It's Lael, her name is Lael. Lael Wilcox rides around the world. And I really enjoyed listening to that. And also I am looking at building a route to do a self-supported half Ironman this fall, because coming back from a running injury, I got to be careful. And I'm up to running 9.5, 10 miles, no problem, without aggravating any injuries or anything. So I think maybe by fall I could work that up to 13 miles, no problem. And then I'll swim at the local lake, bike a roundabout way back to my house, and then from my house run a half marathon around the block a whole bunch of times. Same thing I usually do. And I've actually been on Google Maps trying to figure out a route that's doable, that's all pavement, because I'd like to do an actual half Ironman all on pavement. I really would like to do a gravel Ironman, half Ironman. I haven't really figured out, the ratio of what the right distances would be for that, because gravel biking is so much slower. I'd actually probably be fine with doing a gravel half Ironman, because my biking is not a problem whatsoever. It's just a run I'm a little bit short on, and running on gravel or dirt roads or wherever, that's actually quite pleasurable. So, and not any slower than running on pavement per se. So maybe I'll do that. I don't know. But anyway, it looks like I'm doing that this fall, and I have rigged up my Trek Speed Concept triathlon bike with a wide front tire. After riding my gravel bike so much and getting used to wider tires and the luxury that it feels like riding those things is so nice. I'm like going back to riding a 23 millimeter tire on the front of my triathlon bike is just punishment, that's unnecessary. You wouldn't know any better, but once you do know better, you're like, ugh, this sucks. So I took my bike to the local Trek shop, and I asked them to put in the fattest front tire. And this is a 2015 Trek Speed Concept. It's the Generation 2 Trek Speed Concept with caliper brakes, not disc brakes, but it's got rim brakes on it. Anyway, the widest you can fit in the rear safely is a 25. Okay, that's one thing. It's the front that actually gives you the suspension benefit. That's why mountain bikes have front suspension before they go full suspension, because at least front suspension is nice. So if you can fit a fatter, plumper tire in the front and drop the air pressure and get it comfy, at least in the front, then that's, I don't know, it's just like an interesting experiment, and also makes biking on rougher chip seal roads and all kinds of crap out there way more fun. Anyway, guess what size tire they were able to fit in there? It could fit in yours. A 32. That bike is running a 32 front tire in it, 32 millimeters, which you run at like 65 to 70 PSI. I mean, it's freaking crazy. And I'm so excited about actually trying that out for long distance riding. I've done an hour on it like that, but I've not done a long distance ride with it. And also, it's so much more slammed than my gravel bike that I'm getting used to the position again, so I can sit there and ride in it. And then also, my swimming's covered as well. If I do a half hour, I do a full Ironman swim as my swim. I do 4,000 something yards 3 times a week, so I'm not worried about that whatsoever. And let's see, what other news? Following gravel racing, which is the biggest form of bike racing in North America, something really interesting just happened. Lachlan Morton won Unbound, and he's endurance sports spirit animal, along with Leo Wilcox. He's just the coolest guy in the world, and he's former World Tour pro cyclist, and he's still a pro cyclist on a World Tour team, technically, but he just does all kinds of crazy stuff. Like right now, he's riding around Australia, the perimeter of Australia, which is what people kind of do, things like that as a warm-up to ride around the world. So he might try to break the record around the world. And yeah, he won Unbound, which everybody was so excited about. Keegan Swenson, which is definitely the most dominant, most powerful gravel rider out there, it seems like the competition has figured out a way to shut him down. And it's by not letting him break away and ride off solo. And also when he goes off hard, people won't go with him, which is also contradictory to what I just said. But anyway, not helping him break away. And then so he ends up at the finish line with everybody else, and then it's a mad sprint. And when there's 6 to 10 to 12 people, the chance that you're going to win the sprint is really small. And so other people are getting the jump on him. And they just had Leadville and Steamboat, and I think he didn't win either of those. I'm not sure. One of the races, it might have been Steamboat. They finally, just like triathlon, let women have their own separate start. And I think it Unbound too. And then Gravel Worlds happened, which is just the name of the race. It's not really a world championship, but it's put on by Garmin, and they had full coverage, and that was in Nebraska. And same kind of situation there, just an amazing race. It's the coolest thing to watch on YouTube or however they're going to broadcast it, usually YouTube. And then just like I'm broadcasting video on my show and taking a camera with me on my bike, one of the greatest way to watch these races, a whole bunch of pros have video cameras now on their bikes, so you can see all this carnage and awesome racing going on right from the viewpoint of the different pro racers. Well, let's see. And what's been going on is leading up to just the other day, all the talk has been about going wider and wider and wider tires. And what happens is on a gravel bike, the tires are wider, but they're also kind of like normal thickness. And then when you get up to mountain bike tires, because they're so wide, they're actually thinner because you're not as worried about flatting because you're running like really low tire pressure on mountain bike tires. So it turns out they're actually faster because they're thinner and more supple than gravel tires. So the whole orientation of everything has been to get the maximum tire clearance that you possibly can so that you can fit in mountain bike tires in your gravel bike. And then you have these super supple, ultra fast tires that, contradicting to what you would think, are actually faster than skinnier tires. And yeah, people have been having a ton of success with this until last weekend where Brennan Wirtz won gravel nationals at the other end of Nebraska, at the western end of Nebraska, which also, by the way, had almost no coverage. So that was a real bummer. But he won it instead of on mountain bike tires, and instead of on really fat gravel tires like 47s or 50s, he won it on 44 millimeter gravel tires that were, I think, semi-slicks. And it's like, what in the world is going on? Just when you think you got this thing figured out, it just turns it upside down on his head. And I'm guessing, it's hard to tell from the race coverage, and it just happened. So there'll be some analysis of this. But like a lot of gravel races, they end up finishing on pavement, as they roll into town, and then across a finish line. And like that tactic I was telling you where they're trying to shut down Keegan by all riding in a group around him and not letting him get away, and they just all stay with him. And then it comes down to a group sprint at the end. And if you're on pavement and it's a bunch sprint and your competition is on mountain bike tires, which are heavier and slower rolling, definitely on pavement. They're just faster on gravel and rocky stuff compared to skinnier gravel tires. And you're riding semi-slick, kind of average width gravel tires. Guess which wheels, when it comes down to hammering, trying to break off the front for the last 100 yards for that sprint, guess which wheel is going to spin up faster so that you can cross that finish line first? The skinnier gravel tires will actually do that. And it's just like what is going on with this? So it's actually a lot of fun to be trying to follow this. And it's one of the things that made triathlon so fascinating and fun in the late 90s and early 2000s was the development of the bikes and all this new technology and ideas and such. And the same thing's happening with gravel racing and just constant development and progress at the speed of light. It is so cool to see these things happening. So there's been that. Actually, another thing that I did was with Kai, I did a 6-hour mountain bike race, and that's up on YouTube. And it was half during the day, and then the sun went down, and the other half is at night. And I filmed the last lap of it at night. So that's up on YouTube, so you can go check that out. Oh, and then also on some of the videos, some of the sections of the videos, and definitely the earlier videos, the camera's real jittery. So don't give up on watching Zendurance, Zendurance Triathlon, whatever, just because of that. I've actually figured it out, and the last 2 videos that I've made are super smooth. There's a setting deep in the camera to recalibrate the gyroscope inside, and deep as well in the help settings and on the forums. They're like, oh, you should try doing that. And of course, it smoothed everything out, and now the videos are like super smooth. And another thing that I was working on that was frustrating was reducing wind noise. And at first I went with some cheap wind blocking things on the microphones on the camera, and then that kind of worked. But then I spent, $3 more and bought the ones that are made actually for the camera by the camera brand. I actually use an Insta360 brand. And wow, the wind blocking is amazing. So the audio is great. The video is smooth. We've made so much progress. And actually, I approached it all with an attempt at a Zen mindset, kind of the Wu Wei thing of just, let's take it slow. I can't rush it and figure out any faster than I can figure it out. And the way to figure out is just to do it. And to let y'all know, as I was making recordings, I'm like, hey, I'm figuring this out. Podcasting at the beginning was actually really, really difficult, and I figured that out. So now doing video in this unique way is going to take some figuring out on how to get it done right. And actually, I've done that as well. Another cool thing that I did was the camera batteries don't last very long. They only last an hour max in standby. And you don't want to film everything while you're riding. You want to film like little clips here and there. But it's just burning through battery while it's in standby. And I've got a little remote on my handlebars where I can, say, okay, start filming now. If I see something like some deer or a bike wreck, or I see a snake, or, I don't know, going through a cool intersection, or a motorcycle gang goes by or something like that, I can turn on, or go, like a fast descent down a gravel hill, I can actually turn on the camera at any time. But to do that, I needed more batteries. And basically what I did is I've got 3 batteries now. And then the last ride I did is I switched out I left the camera in standby mode, which so that it can record at any time, but it still just burns through the battery while it's in standby mode. But now with 3 batteries, I can shoot just what's interesting while I'm riding and not have to turn the camera all the way off and then power it all the way on and then miss, so that I can shoot something. I don't have to turn it all the way off to save the battery. And then when I see something really cool, I don't need to power up the camera and then capture that video, because then it's too late. And so the strategy is to just have 3 batteries and just leave them in standby, leave the camera on all the time on my long rides, leave in standby. So we'll see how that strategy goes. That's my next move. That's a little bit inside baseball, but those of you that are really into tech and stuff like that can appreciate that and are interested in like how the cake is made in the background. Kind of love that stuff. So speaking of how the cake is made, and right before we get into the audio from the long ride, I need to get out there that we definitely appreciate supporting the show. There's Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/ZenTry and become a Patreon member. And also you can go to zentriathlon.com and look for the support the show PayPal button on the left. And you can do a one-time donation or a recurring donation. And also, I think there's a support the show button at the top of the page. I don't have it in front of me right now. At the top of the page, and you can do that as well. It is hugely helpful to the show just to donate even the tiniest amount. You wouldn't believe how much it actually helps offset the costs and time of doing this thing. I am absolutely loving doing it, but it does take a lot of time, and it's not cheap. So if you're enjoying it and you want to support it, then those are the 2 places you can go. zentriathlon.com and look for the PayPal links or support the show, or you can just go to patreon.com/ZenTry and then join up as a Patreon member. All right, that's enough of that. Let's go ahead and join me on my ride, part 1 and 2 of Slow is Fast and the Art of Wu Wei. Here we go.
Hi everybody, my name's Brett. I'm a triathlete.
I decided it's time I got some friends more suited to my status.
But Joe, we've been friends for years.
Hey, we all make mistakes. Come on, dudes, let's go exercise! Exercise! Yeah! I'm gonna do sit-ups till I poop myself!
All right, welcome to another great ride. We're gonna do 4 hours and on the gravel bike. And we've already ridden through some mud, so the bike's already dirty, unfortunately. And I'm going to show you this here in a second. And also got my remote so I can pause and record. Got 2 hours fuel, 2 hours of fuel, and then water. I got a Camelback on, got extra water in there. This is a Vast magnesium bike. And then my contraption I've rigged up is when you ride on the feeder road, the access roads of the highways around here, there's no traffic on them, which is awesome, but the traffic next to the road is always picking up the radar and setting it off. So I've gorilla taped an expired credit card to this thing to try to block it from picking up cars from the left. So we're going to see how that goes. And we're about to go down some muddy, nasty stuff, and there could be a lot of that mixed in, and we'll just see how we do. All right, and the wind's out of the north, which is unusual for here, and it's going to make it overcast today. And also we're playing, I live where Texas A&M is, and we're playing Notre Dame this afternoon, evening. I'm not sure what time the game starts. But, so we got to be careful. So gravel biking is actually a pretty good idea. So stay off the roads as much as possible. And let's go. Here's how I do the pause. I just do this. All right. Right after I turned off the camera, Kai went by on this paved road right here. That was kind of funny. And let's see what else is new. Well, I've got the culprit aero bar pads. We're going to test these out on the gravel. Got a car back. So it's definitely picking up cars coming up behind me. It's going to be technical here. There's a washout on this little section. I wonder if underbiking, which is gravel biking on mountain bike trails, actually makes you a better mountain biker. Got a couple dogs. How's it going?
Very well.
Oh, it's fine. Hi.
Hi.
I don't know what I am either sometimes. So I am wearing, I have a personal thing, a safety thing. I do not like wearing dark kits and riding dark bikes. I think it's a really good way to get hit. There's a trail runner up ahead. This subdivision has awesome trails for trail running. Mountain biking is kind of sketchy, but the trail running is awesome. I'm running about 30 PSI in the front, maybe 32, and probably 40 in the rear. I have different size tires. There's a bunch of people out today. Whatever you do, don't get over it. It's cool. And oh, we're going to talk about training slow to be fast and slow living and slow working. And the upsides of that, a couple downsides. Mine's regional, my downside. But, oh yeah, dude, my right rib still hurts from the crash. I've got an ingrown hair on the outside of my right leg, on the thigh, that is a boil and just brutal, hurts. And I got a little one from my mountain bike crash on the underside of my right forearm. So I got to be delicate getting into the aero bars. And then once I find a spot, I'm good, because they are so big. And they're made by Culprit. You can do long-term review. Kai's on his road bike, so we're not gonna see him today unless he catches up with me somewhere. He kind of does that. And standing. And a little swoop down here. Woo. Use the momentum of the bike, of the body. It does feel like we got a headwind, but it should be coming from the northeast. I got the improved mic muffs, so sound should be a little bit better. Still need to tinker with that. Somebody gave me a supportive comment on that yeah, just keep trying. And I really appreciated that. Oh, and the videos have gotten popular a little bit, so it's kind of nice. And then if you're doing a YouTube channel, you need to do shorts. If you want to monetize, they want you to do shorts. And I'm like, I already post to Instagram. And it's like, yeah, it's a different company. And I'm like, oh yeah. So I made a short out of the, where I fell over mountain biking, fell over backwards and then saw an alien. If you don't know what that is, go to Zendurance on YouTube and check it out. And then also on my triathlon bike, I've snapped the chain twice. First time was legit, you know, and then the second time was me probably not snapping the pin perfectly all the way through, and then it eventually pops. But if your chain's too short, you run the risk, I assume, of the derailleur getting shoved up into the cassette or something like that. And that's an Ultegra Di2 derailleur on my tri-bike. So we're riding this bike today. I might take the tri-bike in to get it worked on, to get a new chain put on, and that will require degreasing the packing grease of the stuff that's on the chain. That stuff's bad. They could grease the chain correctly or wax it and then sell it. I mean, some companies do. They sell pre-waxed chain, I guess. Charge way too much money for it. But anyway, Silka makes chemicals that will strip the grease off of a chain, the packing grease, and it actually chemically turns it. It doesn't just strip it, it turns it into wax. So cool what we can do with chemicals these days. So that little rough section right there, really good example of why as fat a front tire as you can get. This bike will fit a 50, but not if there's mud. So I've got a 47 Pathfinder on it, Pathfinder Pro. And the biggest I can fit in the rear is a 42. I can fit a 48 if I put a 650 in, and I've done that before. If I'm gonna do a really sandy race, I'll throw the 650 wheel just in the back, put a 48 Rambler on it or something, and I got a fat tire. Then I got lower gearing too, because it's effectively a smaller wheel. There's another runner. Looks like we got some construction drama up ahead. Oh, but looking at my tri-bike, a specialized Trek Speed Concept, it is got huge clearance in the front for a fatter tire. I think 25, maybe 26 is as big as I could go in the rear. But dude, that thing might take a 32 in the front, even though it's a 2015. So I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna put a fatter tire on the front of that thing, just like on a training wheel. Got a little bit of slow going today. And so the rain does make it a little bit softer. So I'm gonna go in and be like, well, it's a Trek shop, so all they sell is Bontrager wheels. Bontrager wheels are not known for being fast. So I might buy a GP 5000 and I might convert the front wheel to tubeless. and then I don't have to worry about pinch flats anymore. It's not a tubeless rim, and then it's you're running. It's a little risky. They're not mechanically like designed. They're designed to have a tube press up against the walls of the rim. It's a little bit different than having a tubeless tire kind of pulling against the rim. There's a small chance you might have a rim failure. Does it actually happen? I don't know. Oh, the palms of my hand hurt. I think from riding on the hoods, the bullhorns on my tri-bike the other day. All right, we're at the end of this segment. I think we've covered the intro. Here comes a car, so I'm going to pause as we head into the headwind. Or let's see. Yeah, it's a little headwindy. Okay, we'll be right back. Oh wait, while we do it, we're heading into a headwind. Gonna get in these big fat aero bar pads. Oh, yeah. I was joking with Kai, I could eat a ham sandwich off these things like a lunch tray. So nice. Okay, I'll be right back. All right, we're heading on to some single track. It is very, well, it's flat mostly, but if it gets wet, it gets slick. And gravel tires are not particularly knobby, so we will do it right. Watch the ground. Like, see, if this was wet, it would be like ice right here in front of us. Looks okay. A little wet, damp spot there. When I took my bike in to get it worked on, to get the pads moved out, they were so, let's say, enthused. They're the opposite of enthused, of how rusted the bolts were on my old elbow pads. I think they were just in a state of shock and confusion, and they forgot to fix my rear brake, which is something that I need done desperately. So here I am again, riding with just a front brake, and the lesson is check your crap before you leave a bike shop. It would have been really easy to do. Just pull on the lever. Great bike shop though. It's just people, you know. Okay. Picking up a little bit of headwind here. I'm wondering if I should talk about the training slow and living slow just yet. It's coming from that way. Very important as a cyclist to know which way the wind's coming from. I use Weather Underground, the 10-day forecast, and it has the wind direction towards the bottom of the page for days and how much. From the northeast at 15 miles an hour. Got to go through these narrow little cutouts for horses or something. Well, for something. Anyway. Okay, what I'm going to do is turn off the recorder to say battery, because we're going to be riding into a headwind for a while. And we'll pick up when I got a nice tailwind. How about that? Cool. Be right back. All right. I just drove down a feeder road. We'll get another video in a second. And my credit card blocker thing, whatever you decide to use, works. Oh, it works. We'll get that in a second. Anyway, the reason I wanted to combine training slow and slow living into one episode here, one video, because they tie into each other pretty nicely. They have a nice bit of overlap. And because as I was getting my stuff together this morning to go for a long bike ride, you have to be, my asthma's kicking in. You have to be meticulous about not forgetting anything, doing all the right settings. Because it is 4 hours, you know. By the way, I often get, why is one aero bar lower than the other? And so there's a twist in it, and I actually go faster because the wind, just like on the tops of airplane wings, the tail ends, and on top of cars, they have a little tiny fins. It causes rifling, it stabilizes the wind as it goes by. It's proven to save 15 watts. And I'm just kidding. I don't know, I crashed or something and it got stuck that way, and I've just never bothered to mess with it. Because I do like stacking my hands on top of each other a little bit. Instead of two blunt objects, you got one or 1.5. And if one's lower than the other, that kind of helps. But anyway, there's like charging things, making sure that you're telling people where you're going, getting all your gear out, the right gear out, making fuel for 4 hours. You got to be really particular with the numbers on that so you don't mess it up. And so it becomes a little bit like a Japanese tea ceremony of doing it slowly and doing it right. And let me turn around real quick right here. Caught me off guard. All right, we're back. Yeah, so to get everything ready for a 4-hour ride, filling up water bladders, you know, that could be a 1-hour process if you do it right, if you didn't do everything the night before. And actually it becomes like traditional, like it also gets you in the mood. It's pretty cool. Anything that has a ceremony to it, everything you do repeatedly becomes like ceremonial. Oh, we got a strong headwind. I thought riding uphill would help with this headwind. It's so strong, I'm actually going to stop recording and then come back here in a second. All right, got a tailwind, riding through a hilly little subdivision. Gotta go up, do a lollipop and come down. The lollipop has a hill in it itself. So, yeah, when you do things ceremonially, it actually becomes a little bit fun to see how well you can do it and compare against how you did it before. It's one reason like riding loops or riding routes that you're used to riding is really good because you can compare and then improve because you got something to compare against. But anyway, the downside of that is if I take my time and it's summer, and summer here is 8 months long, feels like, then I get a late start, quote unquote, and then it's brutal with heat. So that's an unfortunate one. And you do the ritualistic thing, getting your stuff together to swim. Any kind of workout in the morning on a weekday where you got to go to work, same thing. So I guess the ritual should be at night. But that's my point a little bit. The real point is there's real joy in doing things well. But then you have to say, I'm going to do less. less other stuff. So you have to start saying no because it takes more time to do it right. Well, up front, it takes more time. And one thing I've started doing lately that I find really fun is walking way more slowly. When I was in high school, there was a senior, I was a freshman, that walked really slowly. He was like a star on the football team. He was like really cool. And I was like, ooh, I want to be like that. So I started walking slowly. And turns out I really enjoy it. And I drive slowly. And use the momentum of the vehicle to crest hills and glide down. I put it in neutral and glide. And it's fun. You're like really into the thing that you're doing at the moment, right? It's very zen. Well, that ties into triathlon training. I would say after you start, you want to be successful at kind of like half Ironman distance and beyond. And there's a lot beyond that. There's Ultramans. Anyway, we're going to pick up wind for a little bit. So I'll be right back. All right. We are coming up on the infamous stop sign where I got a traffic ticket for running the stop sign on my bicycle. It was kind of comical because I had blinky lights and live tracking and all kinds of ridiculous stuff all over me. And yes, you should stop at the stop sign. I'm just saying, it was kind of ridiculous. Because he had me pass the stop sign, pulled over. And I said, I looked at him, and this was 70 miles an hour at the time. It's 75 now. And I said something. It did not score me any points. And I was like, you're pulling me over for running a stop sign here. There's a state trooper too. When there's people speeding and probably smuggling all kinds of paraphernalia up and down Highway 6 between here and Houston, doing 80 miles an hour, and you're getting a speeding ticket. It's like, yep. I was like, all right, okay. Anyway, but what I wanted to point out was my little gadget seems to be working. I'm hardly picking up any cars on the freeway. That right there is a car actually coming up behind me. He's about to turn off. And it works pretty good. I'd say 90% of the time. It started going off when the highway was higher than the feeder road here on the side. But just on occasion. So I like it. What happens is on a round seat post, you turn the thing away from the freeway, right? So it won't pick up cars. But then if you forget, or maybe you turn it off because it's so annoying. I mean, look at all the cars that go by. The problem is what if you forget to turn it back on? You know? Anyway. This is nice. I guess maybe we'll record on the uphills here. When they built the feeder roads all the way down to Navasota and beyond, so 10 miles, 12 miles. On one hand, I was pissed, you know, because it's a waste. But on the other hand, I was like, oh my God, I could qualify for Hawaii. Look at this. This is crazy. All the riding. This is the road I did my Ultraman on. I did a self-supported Ultraman. This road right here, I did 9 loops or something for 175 miles maybe, and I averaged almost 20 miles an hour on my tri-bike. That's day 2. Day 3 is a double marathon, which I ran around my neighborhood. Anyway, so slow living has a tie-in with ancient Zen and Taoism and stuff, where the world has a flow to it and you can't really rush things. And people that are unhappy, one of the reasons you could be unhappy or have anxiety is you're trying to do too much, which happens in today's society. Been going on for a long time. With kids, parents and kids think they need to be on 3 different kinds of sports teams. Oh, it's getting windy. I'll pick up here in a second. Okay, back uphill. You know, like when I was growing up, I was on swim team, Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts, school, basketball team. Did I say soccer? Anyway, in Kai's growing up, I tried to cut it back a little bit. Soccer, Scouts. There's triathlon, but they balance it pretty good with the kids. And then, as you got older, you kind of narrow down to one sport. And then you actually have time to study well, you know, all this stuff. So, in endurance training, once you get over a certain volume, you need to slow down and do things better instead of faster and more intensity. I just want to point out, I'm an hour into the ride, clear water bottle, so easy. I got my, I can easily tell I've done half of a 2-hour bottle. Right on the money. 1 hour and 1 minute. All right, we're about to take a right turn. It's gonna go uphill with the wind. So good audio quality, hopefully. So when you slow down, well, to go really long, well, to do long stuff, you need to train really long and just a large amount of volume. It helps. And it's basically a requirement. And how hard you should go is a little bit easier, or maybe quite a bit easier, depends on the person, than what you think you should, what you think easy is. And it works. I've been through the program. It was amazing. And then you sprinkle in a little bit of intervals kind of here and there. And because you're already doing so much volume, your body can't take much more. I'm talking very short, small intervals. And then you'll end up doing rides with your heart rate in the 120s, maybe 130s if you had a lot of caffeine. So crazy long distances without much effort. And when you slow down, if you're going fast and too hard, you're training your body to use carbs. And that's like rocket fuel. It's a very short burning fuel. And you're detraining your body's ability to convert fat to energy. So it's a lose-lose. Well, maybe win-lose. But anyway. But another nice thing is when you slow down, you're able to actually take on way more calories, and then your workout's better, and then you get faster because you're fueling correctly. You're taking care of the machine. You're turning your mitochondria into powerhouses, and you're getting in great workouts because you're really fueled. And you have to get your heart rate down low so you can digest the fuel. If your heart rate's too high, is that an international scout or something? Anyway, your heart rate's too high. And that drives your blood, which helps you digest food and fluids to your muscles and sweat. And you got problems. You might be heading into a headwind here. So one trick that people do is just to pedal easy and never stop pedaling. We got a headwind. I'll come back. Hold on. Stop recording. Hello. Oh. Oh. You gotta watch out, Chihuahua. Oh. Look, her fur's up on her back. That one's really cute. Don't try to bite me. I don't want to kick you. I want you to have fun. Good workout. Oh, that's close, buddy. Okay. Stop recording. All right, we're back. Gotta go past the dogs again. So the slower you go, the better you're building body fat, burning, and then you're like a diesel long haul trucker. And then you can do just about anything. And also the slower you go, you're reducing your chance for injuries, and then you get more volume because you're not injured as much. And then the thing is you have to have this ego check, but you learn to love it, kind of like the tea ceremony. You just don't do things fast because it is a law of nature. Wu Wei, W-U-W-E, is Taoism's law of nature that things happen no matter what. It's the art of not trying too hard because things just happen. Oh, horseback. That must be nice. Have a big field like that. I'm gonna show that to Emily. We could move to the subdivision and she could get a horse and ride around. A cute little house. Boy, riding this road on my tri-bike with the 23 at 120 PSI. Holy crap, this was rough. Okay, here we go. Here's Dog Central again. The Chihuahua I don't want to hurt. Okay. He's smart enough. I think the first time. Do you think you can go? Oh! Oh! You're gonna get hurt, buddy. I ran over his back feet. Hopefully that'll teach him. Anyway. It's when they try to bite your ankle that's a big problem. That could have caused me to wreck. So they need to get that under control. All right. I paused the recording. It's a good example. That chaos made me lose my train of thought. So I'm like, I'm going to take care of myself, pause the recording, get my crap in order. It's where you don't if somebody asks you something, you don't speak until you thought about what you're going to say. So it's a good example of that, but it takes discipline. Same thing, going out on group rides. My friend Mark, who's training for I think it's his first marathon, and he's sore. So what'd you do yesterday? And he's like, oh, I ran with my friends. And I'm like, yeah, that's bro. He's like, oh, we all run about the same speed. And I'm like, yeah, but was that speed what you needed to do today? Was that on your training plan to run tempo with your friends? No. But that's classic stuff right there. So with long distance endurance training, you really fall in love with the fact that slow training actually makes you fast. I like Lawrence Tindam's website, and maybe his Twitter handle is called like "Go Live Slow, Ride Fast" or something like that. But to ride fast is like you have to be a high performer, right? To be fast, relatively speaking. But to be a high performer, it's got to be built with quality, or else you'll just be average performer. You know? And where's the quality come from? It's from doing things slower. I didn't do it here, but sometimes I'll stop my bike up here as I'm doing one of these slow turnarounds, because it doesn't really happen in a race as much as it does in trainings. If I want realistic numbers, I'll pause it. Anyway. Oh, I got a climb ahead. Regionally, this is a climb. Okay, I'm gonna pause and come back. We're going into a headwind. Stop recording. Okay, here's a nice example. I'm climbing this hill, but I'm only doing 230 to 250 watts because it's the quality of the training. You want as much time as possible in your zone 2. And for me, it's about this effort. That feels nice. And then for a really long ride, you haven't overcooked yourself. But when I go back and look at my graph, I've got 3 hours at between 200 and 250. And that kind of stuff will lift your FTP from 260 to 270 to 280. To 290 a couple years ago. I feel like it was a year ago, but I could be wrong. My FTP was 325 to 350. Just getting quality training in. Stop recording. So you do this enough, and you eventually, like over a period of a year, I became either top 5% or top 10% of Ironman triathletes in my age group. And my age group was like 35 to 40 or 40 to 45. And then, as an all-world athlete, when you go pick up your packet on the day before the race or 2 days before the race, there's a whole separate line. And I was like, ooh, I'm special. But you like graduate up to this black belt level of endurance. But the thing is it's like really calm. You got there by training hard on something else, on discipline. Not even discipline. I mean, just like changing a habit. It's like really weird. Let's try this. Okay, pause it, and then it doesn't really grab that. And there we go again. Okay, we got a lot of headwind, so I'm going to turn the camera off. And we'll be back in a second. So, what I really like is that long distance endurance is a thinking person's sport in multiple ways. And what enables it is being slower, gives you time to think. And then the other part I'll talk about in a second is it's a thinking person's sport, and there's so much more strategy besides just going as fast as you can. There's learning nutrition. And we're going to have a dip up here. And they've just put down new gravel, so it's a little bumpy. It's like learning nutrition, paying attention to the wind direction, right? Like, let's say short cycling, but you just want to stay with the pack as long as you can. Because the pack will help you block the wind. Okay. But long distance is like, there's times of the day where you want to put down power because of the wind direction. And you study the course, and you look for the big hills. And this will be fun right here. Oh, they put down a lot of gravel. Let me go over here. A little sand. There was a John Deere tractor here a minute ago. I wonder if this is what he was doing. Ironman triathlon and ultra distance cycling and ultra marathoning attracts people with a higher IQ. I'm pretty positive of it. Because now it's problem solving and looking for patterns. And you enjoy it. It becomes a hobby. Because your physical ability can only be so good. But if you do research, you know, you could be like, oh, this is the right wheel, this is the right tire width. Should I go to tubeless? Or disc brakes going to make a difference? Wind tunnel testing and all that. Well, that's one type of thinking. But another thing that's really cool is going slower allows you to think, right? Just how like your blood's going to your muscles and you can't digest food. Blood's also not going to your brain. And you can't think. You're called race brain, right? But out on a training ride, you can have shower thought after shower thought after shower thought of like, oh, things about work, things about family, things about finances, things about all kinds of stuff. And just be like, oh, yeah, I could do this a lot differently. Or I had this idea, oh, I should call this person. They're the ones that have might have a used car for my kid to go off to college, you know? Because your long workouts turn into thinking sessions. And then that's where the real beauty comes in. Now I gotta pick up some wind here and I'll be right back. Stop recording. All right, we got more of this riding down the feeder road. Very few false positives. There, that truck set it off. You guys hear it say it. That's about it. When I turn here, I'll get several. Yeah. Nice tailwind, cutting through a little subdivision here. So, one thing I like to say is happiness is being able to do two things at once. And if you can do a long workout and be clear in your mind and remembering and writing down on a list the things that you need to do because you're too busy thinking about them, your long ride has just turned into something very productive. So I swim for an hour and I do 5 sets. So about every 12 minutes I stop, take a sip of Gatorade, and if I have had a thought, my phone is right by the pool, and I write into my phone. I already have the note app open. Oh crap, your budget for work is due next week. I totally forgot. Or next week is your mom's birthday. And those things that you've forgotten are actually your to-do list for the day, or now they're written down, and then that frees up a whole lot of your brain to think about other things. It's pretty nice. Here's a 70-mile-an-hour highway with no shoulder. Upside of gravel tires as I can ride on this stuff on the right. I would not be riding on this on a road bike. I'd be out in that traffic lane right there. Or at least not on 23 or 25. I'm arguing with Kai about running 25 gator skins. I'm like, yeah, dude, but they're so slow. He goes, yeah, but I don't care. I don't get a flat. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. So I've learned on the bike, you got to be really careful. And it's a good memory test, you know, to like, once you hit like 3 things to try to remember, you just keep recycling them through your head. Those 3 things every once in a while, and then you won't forget them. And then the next time you pull over for water or whatever, you write them down in your list of things to do. It's pretty nice. Let's hit this aero gravel here. Yeah. Nice. Like, oh, I should write down, like one that just occurred to me right now, I should write down what my PSI was on this ride when I started off. And then at the end of the ride, put it in my Strava so I remember. One thing that helps to be able to go slow is my routes. I know the mileage and I know the time, both. And I also know how to cut corners off of them. So if I'm feeling like too beat up, I'll go slower and then cut some corners off of them, and then I'll get the time in. I'll get a 4-hour ride, you know? But once you're training for like I know what I run. I know my run route is 6 miles. One of them. And I don't care how long it takes me. It's so hot and everything. But I know that I've run 6 miles. You know, because different types of things work for different people about what motivates you, distance or time. Distance doesn't really matter until you get closer to, you've got that ultimate goal. Let's pause the bike computer here. We're going to turn around. Like a marathon or something like that. Or if you've never done an Ironman before, you should definitely go out and ride 112 miles. I actually do one of two things. I haven't done it forever because I've done a bunch of 100 stuff. But I'll either ride 111 and make it special on race day to ride 112. And that's if I got a lot of confidence I can do it. And then one thing you can do is ride 113. And then on race day, you're riding less than what you did training, but just a little bit. But it's a psychological thing. All right, I'm going to check out some gear, maybe put on some sunscreen, and I'll be right back. I just noticed this resembles kudzu. I grew up in the southeast. And how many miles have I gone? 27 and a half. And you learn to just quit caring about mileage. It's all by time. All by time. And then for a race, you look at people your age. My camera battery died. I might get a second battery. Let's see how much they are. And if you're an average rider, you look at, I'm using my phone now. You look at how long the race took somebody like you. So Gravel Locos, I knew it was going to be between a 10 and 12 hour race, let's say. So you train for that. And then you can train anywhere. And you're doing it right. You don't train for 150 miles because 150 miles could be a lot faster or a lot slower. You train by time based on race results. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I need to look into another battery and see. Anyway, this isn't kudzu. It's something else. But one last thing I wanted to say before we wrap this up that I thought was really funny was I was listening to a productivity podcast. This is what it says when it's out of battery. Come on, down here, down there. That's kind of cool. But anyway, the warning sign. When you're, so this wasn't some like productivity, like bro science. This was an actual legitimate author and maybe a PhD and like research and a consultant to major companies and done tons of work, like a really well-established productivity person. And for slow living, it was interesting. He said, you tell people, nowadays, you say, how about next week? I'll have it to you by next week. They want to report, you go by next week. And 9 times out of 10, they're like, oh, okay, that's fine. And then what's funny, I love this. What's funny is usually by next week, the problem's no longer a problem anymore. They found the spreadsheet they were looking for themselves and they like it better because it's theirs and you didn't have to make one for them. Or the specs have changed, or somebody else did it, like it's no longer an issue anymore. The person that you were going to do it for got fired. So it's like saying next week in today's world is actually a productivity tip. I thought that was so funny. And the other thing it does, though, going back to slow and thinking, is it gives you time on your weekend bike ride to think about that thing and like, how's the right way to do it, And then you'll be like, oh wait, we've already got a spreadsheet and somebody sent me, Eric sent me some information in an email or by Teams, and so I'll go get that. And then when you show up on Monday morning, you're like, oh, just da. And another thing that's really important is it gives you time to rehearse through your mind what you're going to do. And if you've done it in your mind once, you've already eliminated all the rough spots in your mind. And then when you actually do it, you do it way better and faster. All right, that is the end of this recording. Might be the end of the show. It's been fun. I still got nearly 2 hours to go, but I'm going to be going into a headwind anyway. So, yeah. Saving y'all from a whole lot of wind noise. So it's been fun. Put the cap on the camera, and I think we're done. All right, everybody stay safe out there. Work the uphills, cruising down hills, and keep the rubber side down. Out. All right, homies, let's go. I've got the camera set up in single lens only, so not 360 for a few of these video shots. You can tell because there's not an inclinometer, whatever it's called, at the bottom center of your screen. And then also, oh, we're gonna have some headwind. Just for a minute though. Also, I'm leaving on a whole bunch of the metrics on the up and around the side of the screen. And it's a bit of laziness. I'm doing it on purpose so I can get more videos out. Let's see how it goes. All right, let's see if the camera films better. We're about to hit gravel. Only 14 minutes in. That's pretty good. I'll be able, the last thing I shot, the camera was all washed out with white, overexposed. Boom. Tire pressure's a little low, which will make this feel nice. I think it looks okay. I can't tell. Woo. Okay, I got my foot out, drifted. Let's see. I can't tell at all if this is filming straight or not. Let's try. I just don't have faith in it since it messes up all the time. Can't be doing this in a race. Seems like it's filming the wrong way. Yep, filming the wrong way. There you go. Wow. That is unsat. You can't be doing that, dude. Okay, hitting gravel about 13 minutes in. And let's see, I'm gonna try the auto pause thing. All right, right turn. This is the more interesting trail. We're gonna do this today. Looks like we got some families out. Hello. Morning.
Good morning.
So the odd thing about this trail is I think they paved it with chunks of old asphalt and chunks of sandstone or something. Although they're red, they might have iron or in them. But chunks of asphalt, whatever. So it's pea gravel, pea gravel, pea gravel, and then softball of flat, edgy rock. So you have to be careful or else you take big hits, which is nice for the suspension stem. Right here. But I thought I would just capture this nice little tree tunnel. Really nice way to get out of the shade. But this area does flood pretty easily. So after a good rain, you will be in it. Let's try. It's not too bad. More. I can feel the lower tire pressure really helping out glide over stuff. GCN just put out a nice video about lower tire pressure. And what was interesting was cheaper tires, if the pavement surface, the road surface was good, like smoother, faster tires, ones that are known to have better less rolling resistance, those are faster. But if the surface got rough enough, dropping tire pressure worked on both of them. They weren't using freedom units, they were using bar instead of PSI. But it was, they kind of matched up. And cheaper tires that don't roll, aren't as supple, ended up being just as fast or faster than more expensive tires that were more supple. And that really intrigued me. I was like, why wouldn't they be faster over crappy surfaces as well? Here's a little bit of sand. Warren. I think just like with quantum physics, quantum mechanics, things act differently at different sizes, at different scales, in a different environment. So, does the less supple tire act kind of like change the really rough, nasty, cobbly crap into a smoother road surface by some weird way? At some point there's a threshold where that's actually faster. Morning. To have crappier tires. Or instead of more supple tires. Pretty interesting. Is this a Borzogi? Whatever. What was I? We used to have a Greyhound. It was an amazing dog. Morning. Very pretty dogs. So there are, and then the tires are tougher so they don't flat as easily because they're like thicker or something like that. And there's a trend that I've noticed following all the gravel bike racing is people tend to ride the Pathfinder Pros. Pros tend to ride the Pathfinder Pros, which are cheaper and thicker. And might be getting better results with them, curb, than with the there's Pathfinder, there's specialized S-Works Pathfinders, which are a little bit thinner and quote-unquote faster because they're more supple. Kai rides those and he gets flats on them. And, you know, there's nothing slower than a flat. Interesting, eh? All right. We will be right back. Down to the Navasota River. Stop recording. All right. We are about to head. I got a car back. About to head into the woods over a cattle guard. Look at this. So pretty. Nice little tree tunnels. So today's Labor Day. Have a day off from Wizard. I rode 4 hours almost on Sunday talking about how to train and live slow in the combination of the two, and ran out of battery, so we're going to combine a little bit of today's ride with that. And got a car back. I thought I'd capture a little bit of the beauty here of this section I rarely get if I go the other way. It's gonna be a little bit repetitive because I talked about it yesterday, but that's okay. Just like school, you learn it several times. I got open ear headphones so I could hear a car coming up behind me on the gravel. It's the nice thing about gravel. A big work truck right here. How's it going?
How you doing?
Good, man. He's probably like, what the F are you doing? I'm just turning around. This place floods really bad back here. He's turning right. Whatever he's going to be doing, that's going to be a big operation right there. So, Wu Wei is realizing and allowing the world to operate as it is. And it's so fascinating. I could say, for example, if you do something long enough, you can see that things come and go. So fashion, you know, work. Well, let's stick with fashion for a second. You know, bell bottoms, I don't know. High-rise shorts, low-rise shorts, jammers, I don't know. All kinds of fashions come and go, long hair, short hair, right? Just keep recycling the same stuff. And then, like at work, there'll be a new mandate about something. And I've been, the upside is you realize what's going to stick and what's not. And then, of being at a place for a long time. Downside is, if you've been at a place for a long time, they take you for granted. But you get really, upside again is like you get really efficient at your job because you've seen it all before. And there'll be a policy, that seems really draconian. And you're like, yeah, that ain't gonna last. Like, how do you know? It's like, oh, they tried it before. It's not really doable. All right. I'm gonna turn off the camera and pick back up when we get to some more interesting terrain. All right, here we go. Down to the Navasota River bottom. I haven't seen you in maybe a month or so. How do you look now? Looking good so far. A lot of times it's flooded lately. Y'all seen a bunch of that. The wind mics. I've already edited yesterday's video as far as dropping in the Garmin metrics and stuff. I want to talk about that. That's some funny stuff. And the sound is awesome. So I found the wind muffs that work. The thing is getting them to stay on. They're pretty cheap, but if I lose one, eventually I lose enough and I got to buy more. I don't want to do that. Road's pretty smooth today. Maybe they bladed it. So the Garmin metrics, if you notice, Insta360, which is the brand of the camera I'm using, it'll overlay your Garmin metrics, like power and watts and all kinds of stuff. Oh, there's some people down here fishing. Let's see. Oh, animal in the bushes. Let's see. Anybody out here? Close that lid so it doesn't leak. People forget to close the lids of their bottles when they put their bike down. There's somebody fishing. And there's the creek, the river. Hey, how's it going? You catch anything yet? No? It's looking pretty good today. Yeah, it looks pretty mellow. I was out here a few weeks ago and there was an alligator on that sandbank right there. Yeah. He was about that long.
I know they're in here because I saw them on the other end over there off 30.
Yeah? Yeah. All right, cool. Have a nice day. Yeah, you can tell he's enjoying his day and doesn't need to talk with other people. Plus it scares the fish away. So what's funny about the Garmin metrics is there's something about the Insta360 that if you pause, it's supposed to match right up. So as you're pedaling, the watts and everything matches exactly. But there's some sort of bug, and I have faith that they're going to fix this because they fix other bugs relatively quickly. But anyway, it gets out of sync. And so I'll be sitting here talking with y'all. I think you ought to get a kick out of it. And I'm standing here talking, and it says, I'm standing still, and I'm talking about what I'm going to do today. And it says 16 miles an hour, 300 watts. cadence 88. And until they fix it, my recommendation is, yes, I know it's doing that. One, I know it's doing that. And B, we can use it as practice to not get too attached. There's still value in it. It's if I was doing 16 miles an hour, because there's incline on there as well, slope. You know, at a 6-degree slope, I would be putting out 300 watts. You know? And it's kind of like those videos where there's the content on the video, and then there's cars crashing at the bottom and jumping off cliffs and machines slicing through things perfectly. Use it to control your ADHD. If you're a cyclist, especially if you're a triathlete, then it's probably not the worst thing. Hold it loosely. It's a good lesson in Zen. All right. Turn off the camera a little bit to save it. We'll talk about why I want to do that and hopefully my cure for it. Coming up next. Stop recording. All right. We're about to turn down Lone Star Road, the most Texas road in Texas. So what I would really like, I've realized after getting the camera, and the Zen approach of doing something new, like getting the camera and trying to film, is to hold loosely and kind of, you don't know what's you're gonna like and what you're not gonna like until you start doing it. And then I realized that one thing that I really wish I could do is the whole ride have the camera on standby. And then when the camera's on standby, I can just press a button and it'll start recording. In fact, I kind of need to do that right now. Okay, now it's set up. I have to do it once manually, and then after that, I can do it kind of semi-auto. So, because if it's on standby mode, I think it would take me about 2 seconds, maybe 3, to start recording. So I come up. It's unpredictable, you know. Some of it, yeah, you know. Like, I know this is a good road to film on because it's cool. But sometimes you're on a road that you're not expecting it, and you want to hit record. Or let's say there's a traffic incident, or somebody's yelling at you, or whatever. Put the camera in standby and just record. Hit the record button that's on my handlebars. Just this quick press, and then I could start recording, and it's seamless. It all records it to the same file. It's really cool. I don't have to edit multiple files. The problem is, this camera seems to just eat through battery. Like, I have an hour of standby. And on a 4-hour ride, that ain't enough. Or, you know, I have a moment of Zen and I'm like, oh, kicked outside there. And I'm like, oh, here's a thought. And then what I could do is, when I want to just listen to podcasts or something like that, listen to that. I'm wondering if this is going to turn into a real road someday. It goes to the back of the park that we rode through earlier. I think it's almost 2 miles long. It's pretty great. Oh, by the way, my father-in-law, Emily's dad, said my route yesterday looked like I was drunk with all the out and backs and just crazy. It looked like I was doing a maze. And I told him, actually, that's on purpose. I've learned there's two things when you do long distance riding is you don't want to be too far from home in case you have a problem and you need rescue. And you want a loved one to come pick you up. Let's turn around right here. Stop recording. And then the other thing is that, let's say it's not catastrophic. You just need an inner tube or, I don't know, an extra bottle of water. You messed up your hydration or something. Well, then it's only a half an hour drive for somebody to come help you, instead of a 2-hour drive, right? Well, then your long ride is actually salvageable. You still could get in most of your long ride, or still the entire thing. You just got to go half an hour longer, you know? So over 20 years of, 25 years now, I guess, of endurance bike training, I've learned that trick. And then you save the really long loops. Kai likes to do really long loops. He's like, I don't like the out where you go out and back and turn around all these times. And I'm like, yeah, but I found an upside to that. Every downside has an upside. It's slowing down and then re-accelerating is really good practice. And it's good bike handling skills to do a tight U-turn. And over 4 hours, you know, doing 8 U-turns is like not that big of a deal. But anyway, with the recording issue, man, I don't want to do it, but I might end up getting extra batteries, and then I can plop a new one in. But then you're running risk of your camera getting water in it if you run out. So you'd have to be really careful opening up the case, the compartment, and dropping a new battery in. But I've done that kind of stuff with AirPods and such. So we're almost an hour in. I should be halfway done with this bottle. I am not. So that should do it. There was this little video clip I saw about the making of some movie, like Train Spotting or not Goodfellas. Maybe it was good. No, was it Goodfellas? I don't know. But anyway, after they took drugs, for the time that they were high, things were filmed kind of like out of sequence a little bit on purpose. It didn't like quite make sense of what came first and what came second. And it was done on purpose to show you, to make you feel the disorientation of drugs and what people feel like doing drugs. Can't remember exactly what happened first or what happened second. I thought that was really interesting. But I like the creativity. I'm gonna turn here. I like the creativity of the method. So like today's video that you're watching on YouTube is going to be a mix of different days, different times maybe. Might not. It depends on how I throw it together. But instead of getting frustrated and worked up over the continuity of the whole thing, you can view it as like, this is what it's like biking 2 long days over a long weekend. It all just kind of blurs together. And since it's all the same effort, zone 2, and just going with the flow, it doesn't really matter. Now that we're an hour into day 2, it's sunny. So that might be a way for you to be able to tell. There's a date on the Garmin metrics, and that might be readable and usable. But honestly, does it really matter? It's just volume. And that's the mindset you have to have. All right, we'll be back in a little bit. Stop recording. Hello? Hold on. Hello?
Hey, I was just letting you know that I had left. I'm headed out to see I'm the primary nurse on call today, so I've got 3 visits. Really
Okay.
spread out. Are you running?
No, I am biking.
Okay. Kai was making breakfast when I left, and Kylie was getting ready to go to work too. So he's staying again tonight, as far as I know, and then we can figure out dinner later.
Man, I'm having trouble with the camera settings on this thing today. I'm gonna have to get better at it. Okay. What I was talking about. There we go. Oh my gosh, I need some water. I just recorded a really cool section of road and it didn't come through, which is fun. Let me go ahead and start this. Bring it back. Hello, are we recording? Yes, we are. That pond of water right there might be the quarry for some of the stones for the seawall. I'm not sure. And we need to drink a little bit of fuel. It's getting sunny, kind of hot. What I was talking about a second ago was there's people on YouTube that post these extreme, these changes. I'm going to change this and I'm going to change that with my training. And what I want to do with my camera recordings on the bike ride is point out little things. I'm a coach, and the little things that actually make a difference. And it's not big changes and drastic changes. It's just training and volume. And one awesome example of this is Lionel Sanders, who is so popular and entertaining and amazing. But what makes it so great is how he's always like, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to change that, and I'm going to change this, and I'm going to change that. And so many of us know, just leave it alone, dude. Just train. When he said he was going to quit training with others, that was actually a good one. But with Zen, it's taking away, removal. Just basics, right? And I'm picking up a lot of headwind. So I will be right back with some more tips here in just a second. All right, while we're going uphill. By the way, I saw this question. Which way do you like to ride your routes? Clockwise or counterclockwise? And people were giving their opinions. And then I mentioned something that a lot of people don't think about. If you do a lot of riding and you want to live to ride tomorrow, if you live in countries where people drive on the right-hand side of the road, you want your routes to be clockwise with right-hand turns. Because if you turn left, you're turning across traffic. And I rode one of my favorite routes, not clockwise, but counterclockwise the other day, and it was obvious. There was several roads where I was way more likely to get hit. So this is the town of Milliken, 10,000 people at one point in time. It's a gravel roads grid. It'd be insane to have a gravel crit course through here. The people would not tolerate it. But it would be awesome. All the roads are gravel. And it's a grid. Just imagine. Oh, there's somebody's sunglasses. Let me go back and stop. See if they're Kai's. He's one of the few. No, he doesn't ride gravel. This weekend, he didn't bring his gravel bike. He's on his road bike. See if they're nice. They're lightweight. Z-Tech. I'll put them by the stop sign. I gotta carry them the whole way. Maybe somebody will want them. there's this guy I'm following that I like a lot who lives in southern England. I'm a fan, I'm a subscriber. Dude, he's 40 and just started seriously cycling in his mid-30s. Got a nice little YouTube channel that's really positive. So I'm not harshing on the guy whatsoever. I want him to make more videos. But it's so classic where he's like, what am I going to change? I guess, you know, somewhat doing it for content or for eyeballs, clicks. I'm going to change these 5 things. People love that crap. Okay, sunglasses, you're going right here. Have a good life. Somebody will see you and pick you up. It's close to where you were dropped anyway. And then actually, let's record this on the gravel road coming up. It'll be more fun. All right. All right, nice little tree tunnel we went through there. Kind of cool. Also wanted to do a test. To see which way this stupid thing was recording. Car back. All right. All right, over the railroad tracks, onto some gravel. Gonna take a right up here. What's the name of this road? I forgot. Kai holds the comm on it. Took it from me. Ward Road. Might have a bit of a tailwind. Be kind of nice. Look at this. Isn't this pretty? So this is like I want to have the camera in standby and record stuff like this. Or back on the road I was just on that y'all missed. It was just pretty and a good example of riding on a high-speed highway with no shoulder. Throw some adventure in with the video. Anyway, this guy, God, I wish I remember his name. I've chatted with him in the comments. Like, I like him. But he's like, I'm going to do this. His latest video is he DNF'd at a European transcontinental, you know, multi-day bike race. Kind of like the Continental Divide, but across Europe. I'm guessing it takes like 5-6 days. I don't know. And I was just laughing to myself when he was like, okay, these are the things I'm going to change. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. By the third one, I'm like, I'm noticing a pattern here, and I'm just like, no, you're not. It's not because he doesn't want to. These things aren't changeable like that, right? You have to be gentle. You have to be the Wu Wei. And what you do is you kind of lean that direction. And then they happen organically, these changes. And then they stick. But if you make these big declarations, then you're trying too hard. I had a whole lot of Wu Wei is not trying too hard, because you can't force things. It's the art of not forcing things. You take advantage of things as they come your way. And life's always changing. And so opportunities are always coming your way for you either to hold or let go. Hold, let go. Hold, let go. The thing is patience. And the real thing to optimize and to really work on is streamlining where your gear is, and you're fueling, how to make fuel for cheap and quick and easy. Like, all my fuel is in easy cans. It's already pre-measured scoops, and I've spent the time knowing exactly how many scoops of what per hour. And if I want to do 4 hours, I do 4 of them. That's it. No thinking, effortless. Go with the flow. This is nice. Whee! A little bit of speed. You can think of this as a dead animal, it's just a brand. Another thing I've noticed is if I don't film in 360, it extends the battery life, it seems like, nicely. So maybe that's part of it. I can get more out of it. I won't be able to pan like in some of the videos from yesterday that's in the same whole long shoot. Pan right, pan left, you saw me do that. But I don't know. I'll just tell you what's on the left or the right. Then it's faster to edit too. So I moved the remote up in front of me on these aero bars, and now I can definitely see what it's filming, and I can see the battery life. I can see all kinds of things, I think. I don't know if I'm looking at the battery life on the camera or on the remote. Let's pause up here and let's see what it says. I think if I touch things, it'll tell me. And I'm burping a little bit, so I could definitely use some water. Okay. Oh, camera's almost out of battery. Remote is plenty of battery. All right, let's turn this thing off. Camera off. All right, we only got a little bit of battery left, so this is going to be a two-purpose video clip. One is how to ride down a muddy road, and if I can't get through, like just like that, then it's how to get stuck on a muddy road. Oh man. And then, oh, I just got peanut butter mud in the rear tire. And then, pedal. The problem with the peanut butter mud right here is it's mixed with gravel. And then that just turns it into conglomerate. Let's see what happens right here. Down the middle? Oh, maybe. I do have a paint stick. And then I want to talk more about that guy. So what happens is, let's do some paint stick. Yeah, look at that right there. Boy, that is handy. Look at that. A little bit in there, 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 a little bit in there. Can y'all see that? And it's like, no, you're not going to do all those things that you think you're going to do. What actually works? Well, you'll constantly be changing, you know. I'm going to do the Blackwood Morton thing is shove it in the back of my, oh, that's way better now. Back of my jersey pocket. My radar's going crazy. I think it's picking up mud. Well, that's the first time I've really used the paint stick in mud. Peanut butter mud. That worked. But I mean, that was just a short, it was like 10 feet. Here comes a bad section right here. What should I do? Should I walk it? One thing people do is on purpose, they let it get wet. Yeah. But the trick with long distance cycling is to quit doing all kinds of different things and just ride. Ride, and then, speaking of Lachlan Morton, Lachlan, okay, here we go, fast. You mix in a little bit of interval work kind of here and there. That's it. And you stick to the basics. You eat enough. You train, nice volume. Mix in some hills on occasion. Take your rest days. And that's it. They keep adding things like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to change that. No, you're all over the place. Remove, minimize. Just go out and go easy. You do whatever it takes so that you can hit 15. All right. I'm glad y'all enjoyed it and stayed until the very end. The next episode is going to be very similar. It's a long bike ride where I talk about the Japanese art of using negative space, also known as ma. And on that ride, we go from my house on an 80-mile round trip to Independence, Texas, where the Declaration of Independence for the country of Texas was signed. And it's a lot of really cool hilly gravel. And then on the way back, we actually go by a nudist colony. We don't go in. We just ride by it, say hi from afar. Say hi from afar. Oh, and fire trucks go by because they're trying to put out a wildfire. Oh, it's a really great set of audio from a really great ride. So be looking for that in your podcast feed. If you want to go watch it up on YouTube, you can go do that. It's the Zen Endurance or Zendurance channel with Brett Blankner. Zen Endurance with Brett Blankner YouTube channel. And don't forget, you can help support the show at patreon.com/Zentry, or you can do a one-time or recurring donation at zentriathlon.com and look for the PayPal logo there. It's really easy to do. And it is so appreciated to help make these shows continue to happen. I'm having a blast making them. I can't wait to do more. So everybody stay tuned and stay safe out there. And remember to work the uphills, cruise the downhills, and keep the rubber side down. Out.